us to be at the docks. Let's go! The arrival schedule says ship stopover, 1 person. Does that mean we're only welcoming 1 guest today? Look! That figure on the wharf! It looks like Kazuha!
Greetings, Traveler in Paimon. I heard there would be guides for the Iridori Festival, but I didn't expect it would be you two.
We didn't expect to see you either! Returning as a guest for the Iridori Festival, no doubt.
I was a little surprised myself when I received the invitation. But after wandering the outside world for so long, it's good to have an opportunity to return to my home.
Kazuha, when we saw you in the distance just now, you seemed to be looking for something.
Ah, yes. You see, when I came off the boat with everyone just now, I could tell they were not footsteps of a regular passenger. But by the time I turned around, the person had already... Even though I didn't manage to catch a glimpse of them, I found this strange...
Oh! Does the paper happen to have...
Huh. How... Fascinating. It's almost hard to believe such things could happen. Sure, here it is.
Last time, Aoi no Okina's poem ended with a reference to The story this time basically says that Akihito got his name from his love of red seals. Well, if Paimon were to rate today's story, it sounds pretty unfortunate.
I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with this story. I too was once wanted as a criminal by the shogunate. So I'm not all that different from Akihito.
But according to the story, Akihito was exiled by the shogun because of his wrongdoings. You did nothing wrong. Huh? Traveler, what are you thinking about?
Ah, by the way, you mentioned that your friend has been struggling because he's unable to... In Liyue and Inazuma, there is a saying, that which has been stamped has also... While sailing at sea, I sometimes carve things to pass the time. If you wish to create a stamp for his sea...
Wow, that's an idea! Quick! Albedo, we figured out a way to help Shincho!
Interesting. A story of the 5 Kasen appears again. Stamped seal, huh? Indeed, it is an efficient solution. If we use a stamp, then Xingqiu won't have to struggle with his handwriting anymore. Since Xingqiu's signature has been previously revealed to the readers, it would seem instant. But I have another idea. Using a seal...
Yes, that's it, Genyu. Your writing has greatly improved today, which means yesterday's intent.
My apologies, but I simply can't do it anymore. My hands are so sore that I can't even move them.
You just had a 10-minute break. Come on, you can.
When it comes to pushing a deadline, there's no one more brutal than Mr. Hirayama.
No wonder Lady Yai would always send the editorial director to handle troublesome.
Whoa, this is getting scary. It hasn't even been that long and...
Mr. Hirayama, we found a solution that might just solve. In both Liyue and Inazuma, seals are widely used as the equivalents of a signature. If we use a stamp to leave the author's seal on the books, of course, a seal on its own is not enough. So, I propose that first, we'll use a personalized seal. We can simply carve one using Chenyu's signature as the design. In addition, I'll also design a simple but elegant pattern that's easy for Chenyu to write.
All right, I think that would work. Not only does it still involve the author's own hand.
So, what you mean to...
Mr. Hirayama, it suddenly occurred to me that the reason we gave up on live book signings previously was because it would take too long for the author to sign each book. But if we adopted Calx's proposed method, we might have enough time to do signatures. And if all the authors sign their books in the same fashion, then...
If you think it's feasible, I would certainly be happy to design.
Yes, and you may leave.
In that case, I shall contact the other two authors participating in the new release event.
It is a great honor to use a signature designed by Calx.
My pen name is quite complicated and isn't suitable for signing events. However, if we implement this new form...
Great! Looks like everyone's...
I'm sorry to have kept you busy for so long, Genyu. Please, take the next few days to have a good rest. The books that Genyu already signed can be used as special prizes in future events held by the Eye Publishing House.
we did it.
Thanks to everyone's efforts, Onodera and I are finally free of...
That's right!
Welcome to Uyu.
We still have some time to burn. Where should we go next?
Traveler, there you are.
Oh, it's Ayaka! And Venti!
I was just going to the festival venue to prepare the Ikebana lesson when I found a strange piece of paper on... This bard just happened to be close by at the time. He informed me that you've also found...
But the paper she found isn't quite the same as the ones we found before.
Here's the paper. Please, have a look.
Huh. All the poems we found before were roughly the...
And even though there are only 2 short sentences, neither of them are The position of the writing seems to indicate...
If we take the poem literally, it reads, "Dip this paper in water." Speaking of which, I have an ancient text at home, specializing in ancient and exotic stories. It mentions a special ink that will show itself when wet.
So, shall we give it a whirl? It just so happens...
Wow, look! It's really working! Let Paimon see what it says. Story says that after Sumizomi got the collection of poems from Akihito and put them into the plagiarized words in the poem became blurry. Huh?
You see, Paimon, in the past, when printing was not yet well developed, handwritten text could easily become smudged in books when exposed to moisture. To ensure the text lasted longer, They'd either write using a special ink or coat the paper's surface with such special inks are time-consuming and laborious to produce. However, since Akihito's poetry collection was an important gift to be presented to the show, but as for the plagiarized poems, not only would they lack Akihito's seal, but the words would also react differently when exposed to liquid.
Which means Akihito didn't plagiarize his work.
Yes, it appears that this is the truth that Sumizome's story is trying to convey. Although the story is saddening, I've decided on the subjects to use for Akihito and Sumizome's Kazuha, Ayaka. Would you be willing to be the model?
I would be delighted.
Yes, as would I.
There you go. The next 2 portraits.
Yes. And now that all 4 stories have all been collected,
Long ago, Inazuma had 5 legendary poets. People bestowed upon them the title of the 5 Kasen.
One year, the poet Suiko made his way to Tenshukaku and presented the Kasen's work for the shogun's perusal. But a page from the works of Aoi no Okina had been torn out, and Suiko was questioned regarding the matter. Suiko pleaded guilty. He admitted to drinking at the tavern the night before, and vaguely recalled a mysterious figure approaching while he was intoxicated.
That figure was none other than Aoi no Okina himself. This turn of events had begun with an unnamed individual, under whose coercion, Aoi no Okina was forced to take drastic measures to retrieve a page of poetry. He knew nothing of this individual's true intentions. All he knew was that the poem had to do with an old acquaintance, Akihito.
Akihito had once belonged to the 5 Kasen. Each poem he composed, he marked with a scarlet red seal, hence the Aka in his name. Such a distinguished writer was he, and yet one of the poems he had submitted the previous year was found to be plagiarized. Akihito was exiled for his crimes, and only 4 of the 5 Kasen remained.
Sumizome went over Akihito's poems and noticed that the plagiarized poem lacked his seal. She immersed his poetry in a stream nearby, and only on the plagiarized poem did the ink run. Aoi no Okina passed by and witnessed Sumizome's doing, which he then recorded in a poem. Thus transpired the events of Suiko's poetry submission, and this is where the story comes to an end.
Boat-san.
Since we completed the story of the 5 Kasen, one of the 5 Kasen is called Kuranushi, right? It's just that, how could the story of the 5 Kasen...
Oh!
Huh? Not noticed what?
What he means is that the story of Kuranushi was already embedded within the 4 poems.
Huh?
That's right. The key lies in the poem that Aoi no Okina wrote after seeing Sumizome rinsing the poetry collection. An average person could never understand the scene of a young girl washing Akihito's poetry collection in a Even Aoi no Okina couldn't figure out the meaning behind Sumizome's actions. He was simply reminiscing and thinking of... However, for the perpetrator who framed Akihito, he was worried that if this poem was seen by the shogun, then the shogun could discover the truth behind the plagiarism incident. So in desperation, he threatened Aoi no Okina to make him tear out this poem.
Which means the one who threatened Aoi no Okina is the same person that framed Akihito. What?
That's right. Though there are only 4 poems, they still managed, since the shogun mentioned in the poems is certainly not the one of the 5 kasen.
Oh, okay.
However, the story of the 5 kasen has more or less reflected everything that's been happening around us, which begs the question, is there a Kuronushi in our world as well?
A Kuronushi?
Speaking of which, I wonder if our dear Kazuha has come up with it.
Oh, right! Kazuha! He's been pretty quiet this whole... Hey, Kazuha! Are you okay? You've been...
Apologies for making a wild assumption, but...
Yes. A few things did come to mind, actually. I don't mind sharing the stories, but I'd prefer not to...
Hey! We're all friends here, Kazuha.
Kaidehara, please forgive my assumption, but perhaps you were thinking of the Raiden Gokuden?
The Raiden Gokuden?
It appears that Miss Kamisato and I were thinking of the same thing. But it also has much to do with the Yashiro Commission. It would be improper to speak of it here without the
It's fine. Those of us here are all trustworthy, so there is... However, this matter is somewhat complicated and may be difficult to... As you all know, the Yashiro Commission's primary purpose is managing ceremonial and cultural affairs, and Inazuma's art of forging swords. The Raiden Gokuden were once the top 5 schools of the forging art in Inazuma. Although these families were swordsmiths by craft, they also held many important... Unfortunately, of the 5, only the Aminoma art still maintains its artisan lineage. The descendants of the Ishin art are none other than the Kaidehara.
Whoa! We knew Kazuha came from a noble family, but we had no idea about his connection to the Yashiro Commission and sword making.
Yes, but that's all part of the past now. The Ishin art... My grandfather was dissatisfied with my great-grandfather's lack of effort. When he was young, my grandfather traveled all over Teyvat to find a way to revive the and in my generation, our last remaining family property was lost.
I heard my elder brother mention that the decline of the Raiden Gokuden happened very rapidly. In the span of later, there was speculation that all of these misfortunes stemmed from some background machinations, meaning that someone wanted to wipe out the... However, since not every family of the Raiden Gokuden came to ruin, such explanations were treated...
Indeed. I've also believed such ideas were just theories and rumors. However, I know that a major incident happened to my great-grandfather when he was young. Not only did it affect the Kaedehara clan, but it nearly jeopardized the Kamisato clan's position in the Yash... After reading the story of the 5 Kasen, I can't help but...
What exactly happened to your great-grandfather?
I still can't say. I need to speak with someone to verify. I will tell you everything I know then.